Okay, thank you. Very simple. Not a hard question. I'm glad we agree. So why is it that you are allowing President Trump to have complete immunity from being audited?
Again, I'm going to have to refer you to my previous statements. And
what was your previous statement, sir?
That I am unable to comment on any of the ongoing litigation.
Okay, can you name the ongoing case concerning President Trump's immunity from audit?
Linda Sanchez just trapped Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in his own excuse. Bessent claims he can't discuss Trump's audited immunity because of ongoing litigation. So Sanchez, a lawyer, asks him to name the cases he can't. Then she reveals the truth. The only relevant litigation concerns the suspended slush fund. And the judge's ruling in that case doesn't even address Trump's audit immunity. Then she drops the hammer. Since 1962, the Supreme Court has held that ongoing litigation does not bar anyone from testifying before Congress. The Sente's entire excuse collapses, and Sanchez calls it the most corrupt Treasury Department in American history. Watch this. But before, if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me.
If you're asking
Please
me,
don't
should every
interrupt
taxpayer
me.
be audited?
Please answer I came here for answers. If you came here to waste time, I'm going to try to make sure you don't do that. Do you believe that people who lie on their tax returns should be audited?
Yes.
Okay, do you think that people who break our laws should be held accountable, our tax laws?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Very simple. Not a hard question.
No.
I'm glad we agree. So why is it that you are allowing President Trump to have complete immunity from being audited?
Again, I'm going to have to refer you to my previous statements. And
what was your previous statement, sir?
That I am unable to comment on any of the ongoing litigation.
Okay, can you name the ongoing case concerning President Trump's immunity from audit?
Sorry?
Can you name?
There are 3 cases.
Can you name them, please?
That are out there now, and I will be happy to get back to you on those, because again, I am not a lawyer.
Okay.
We are represented by the DOJ.
Great. You said that you can't because there's ongoing litigation. You'll get me the name of the ongoing litigation, because the only ongoing litigation that I know of is surrounding the $1.8 million slush fund, which has already been suspended. The fact is that the judge's ruling in the litigation that references that slush fund only addresses the anti-weaponization fund. It doesn't even address Trump's immunity from audit. So I would like to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record the judge's order in the Floyd versus Department of Justice case.
Without objection.
Thank you. Now, Secretary, you said you're not an attorney, is that correct?
Mercifully.
Okay, well, I am, and I'm actually proud to be an attorney and know the laws, and I know how to read a judicial ruling. Furthermore, I know that since 1962, the Supreme Court has held that ongoing litigation does not prevent someone from testifying in a congressional hearing. So once again, I'm going to ask, why are you allowing President Trump and his family to have complete immunity from being audited?
Again, since you're a lawyer, you will understand that the U.S. Treasury and the IRS are represented by the Justice Department and the Acting Attorney General.
Yes, but I just mentioned a Supreme Court case that doesn't bar you from testifying. It's pretty clear to me, though, however, that you're not interested in answering questions. You're interested in arguing. Let me ask you this question. If President Biden amended a prior tax return and claimed that he was owed $1 billion, do you think that that would be audited, or should it be audited?
I'm not going to talk about any.
Because you're not really here to answer questions. I don't understand why you wouldn't audit that, and I don't understand why you wouldn't do the same for President Trump. So the ruling by the Justice Department,
do you have specific knowledge of an audit of President Trump?
Excuse me. It's my time. You're not here to
knowledge?
ask me questions. I'm here to ask you questions, and hopefully you're here to try to answer some of them. I'm curious to know who counts as Trump's family for the purposes of this immunity. Is it his children, his in-laws, his grandchildren, his second or third cousin, his great-great-grandchildren? Do you know the answer to that question, Mr. Secretary?
Again, I imagine you have the Justice Department phone number. I would suggest you call them.
I'm not the one that runs the Department of the Treasury or that oversees what is happening with this immunity that has been granted.
I'm not the one either. We follow the instructions of our lawyers, and we obey the law,
I hope
Representative.
that you're proud of your performance today, Mr. Secretary,
well,
because
I hope you get some social media
I think it's pretty
clip.
safe to say that this is probably the most corrupt Treasury Department in our nation's history. And while you dance around questions to protect Trump, Americans are suffering in Trump's spiraling economy.
And
inflation is now rising faster than average hourly wages. Gas prices are at an all-time high with the war in Iran. The cost of groceries has risen 3.2% over the past years, and prices on most goods have gone up because of Trump's tariffs. So I don't see how you could call that anything other than a failure of the most corrupt Treasury Department in history.
Your time has expired, Ms. Sanchez.
Thank you. My time has expired.
Secretary, I would love for you to respond to the accusations at your department.
Chairman, thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. Last year, one of President Trump's first actions was to put his billionaire donor, Elon Musk, in charge of the so-called Department of Government Efficiency. By the end of Musk's short but destructive tenure, DOGE had nearly quadrupled its original budget, lost taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars in estimated interest and fee revenue, and paid 200,000 federal employees roughly $22 billion to stop working. DOGE was a massive failure. It turns out moving fast and breaking things and having no clue what the heck you're doing is not the most efficient way to govern. Unfortunately, DOGE's destruction wasn't limited to wasting taxpayer dollars and gutting the federal service. DOGE staffers also abused their position to gain access to taxpayers' sensitive private data. Mr. Secretary, on January 31st, 2025, you personally granted DOGE access to one of the Treasury Department's payment systems at the Bureau of the Fiscal Service. This database houses Americans' most sensitive data, including Social Security numbers and bank account information. Shortly after, my colleagues and I requested the GAO review DOGE's unprecedented access to this critical payment system. GAO completed that report last month, and I asked for unanimous consent to insert it in the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. GAO's audit determined that a DOGE employee was inadvertently granted temporary access to create, modify, and delete data from the payment system. Mr. Secretary, you failed to impose basic safeguards that left millions of Americans' personal data vulnerable to unauthorized access and abuse. And so my question for you is, do you take responsibility for that? And what specific measures, if any, have you taken afterwards to protect the affected individual's data and rebuild confidence in your department's handling of sensitive information?
Again, would you care to look up what does inadvertent mean?
Have you taken, but you're in charge. You're responsible for this. Do you take responsibility for that? Do you take responsibility?
I will take responsibility.
Okay, and then
and again,
what has been done to make sure that can never happen again?
Congresswoman, it was read-only. They had no ability to edit.
What has happened to make sure that never happens again?
We have, just as we have at the IRS, we have tightened up all protocols on systems.
I guess that's not very specific, but the GAO also found that a DOGE staffer sent an unencrypted file containing USAID payment information and individuals' names to external DOGE personnel at the General Services Administration. Soon after, it was reported no disciplinary action was taken, despite the employee's failure to protect federal and non-federal employees' sensitive personal data and comply with security requirements. So again, Mr. Secretary, when employees who violate IT security rules are not held accountable, what does that message send to agents? Why don't you hold someone accountable?
Why are you bringing up USAID with me?
Because a DOGE staffer, GAO found that a DOGE had payment information. Payment information.
USAID, I do not oversee. I wear many hats in this administration. Not one.
And this is a file containing payment information. Are you not in charge also of the Treasury?
That has USAID. That has nothing to do with us.
But payment information has nothing to do with it.
Again, it was not sourced at the Treasury. Why are you bringing this up with me?
So GAO provided 6 recommendations to address identified weaknesses, including ensuring staff agree to comply with IT security rules and configuring systems to detect and prevent the transmission of unencrypted payment data. The report states that the fiscal service, again, the fiscal service, part of your agency agreed that 3 of the recommendations, or agreed with 3 of the recommendations and did not state whether it agreed or disagreed with the other 3. So, Mr. Secretary, can you confirm Treasury's position? This is part of your purview, that Treasury's position on all 6 recommendations. And if you agree that they're warranted, please let us know. And if you disagree with the recommendations, please explain why.
Again, I don't have a copy of the recommendations in front of me. Your office did not share them in advance. We'd be happy to get back to you that we would obviously agree with the ones where we've already agreed.
So I hope that you understand that these are findings from the GAO about ensuring that information is protected. And again, we have seen access to taxpayer information leaks. What are you doing to address this? And are you taking responsibility? People don't have faith that access has been given against the law.
Well, again, President Trump and his family and employees of the Trump Organization, 400,000 people, had their tax returns stolen at the IRS.
You are in charge. What are you doing to prevent that?
Let's be absolutely clear about what Linda Sanchez just exposed. The Treasury Secretary of the United States came before Congress and hid behind a legal excuse that a practicing attorney dismantled in real time, revealing that the President of the United States has been granted something no other American has ever received: complete immunity from being audited by the IRS. Because Bessent's defense rests on a single claim that he cannot discuss President Trump's immunity from audit because of ongoing litigation. For most questioners, that might be the end of it. But Sanchez is a lawyer, and she takes the excuse apart piece by piece. First, she establishes the principle. She gets Bessent to agree that all Americans should follow the tax laws. She gets him to agree that people who lie on their tax returns should be audited. She gets him to agree that people who break tax laws should be held accountable. Simple foundational agreement. And then, the trap closes. So why is President Trump being granted complete immunity from being audited? Bessent retreats to his script. He can't comment on ongoing litigation. So Sanchez, the attorney, asks the obvious question: can you name the ongoing case? Bessent can't. He says there are 3 cases out there, and he'll have to get back to her because, in his words, he's not a lawyer. And that's when Sanchez reveals what she already knows. The only ongoing litigation she's aware of concerns the $1.8 billion slush fund, which has already been suspended, and the judge's ruling in that case, the Floyd versus Department of Justice case, which she enters into the record, only addresses the anti-weaponization fund. It does not even address Trump's immunity from audit. The legal shield Bessent is hiding behind doesn't cover the thing he's refusing to discuss. Then she delivers the precedent that ends the argument entirely. Since 1962, the Supreme Court has held that ongoing litigation does not prevent someone from testifying in a congressional hearing. The Sente's entire basis for refusing to answer is not just factually wrong about which cases exist, it's legally wrong about whether litigation even permits his silence. He keeps repeating that the Treasury and IRS are represented by the Justice Department and the Acting Attorney General, but that's not a legal bar to testimony. It's a choice to stay silent. Sanchez then illustrates the absurdity with a hypothetical that cuts straight to the double standard. If President Biden had amended a prior tax return and claimed he was owed $1 billion, would that be audited? Should it be audited? Of course it would. Any tax professional would flag it instantly. And yet Trump, who sued the United States government and walked away with audit immunity, faces no such scrutiny. Sanchez even presses on the scope of the immunity. Who counts as Trump's family for these purposes? His children, his in-laws, his grandchildren, his distant cousins. Bessent has no answer. He keeps deflecting to the Justice Department's phone number. What makes this exchange land is the contrast in postures. Bessent's strategy is to argue rather than answer, to run out the clock, to retreat into, "I'm not a lawyer." Whenever the questions get specific, Sanchez names that strategy directly. She tells him it's clear he's not interested in answering questions. He's interested in arguing. And then she connects the corruption at the top to the suffering at the bottom. While Bessent dances around questions to protect Trump, ordinary Americans are living in a spiraling economy. Inflation rising faster than average hourly wages, gas prices elevated by the Iran war, grocery costs up, prices on goods rising because of Trump's tariffs, that she concludes is the record of what she calls the most corrupt Treasury Department in the nation's history. Bessent's response, when offered the chance to reply, is telling. He calls Sanchez slanderous. He says she's long on hot air, short on facts. But he never does the one thing that would actually rebut her. He never names the case that supposedly bars his testimony. Never explains who qualifies for the immunity. Never accounts for why a president who sued his own government received a benefit available to no other taxpayer when the strongest available defense is to attack the questioner's tone. The substance has already been conceded. A lawyer asked the questions, the Treasury Secretary had no answers, and the audit immunity remains exactly as indefensible as it was when she started. You are watching David Brooke, and if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on this video. If you stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.